Good evening, everyone. This is current affairs class. So here we are going to discuss about some topics. We will take some topics related to our current issues. So I have chosen one topic which is very important from the from your current affairs point of view, and which is important for prelims examination and for the mains examination. Because I have taken one issue that is based on the organizations, like international organizations. So what all organizations India is part of, so we will try to cover these organizations in our coming classes. So today I started with Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And why I chosen this topic? Because some times back, like maybe in June or July, this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, members of this organization met. Okay, so they met in their yearly meeting. So yearly they meet, and that means that they meet on regular basis. So as we see many organizations which may discontinue in between, or due to any reasons, okay, due to any reasons among the countries who all are part of that particular organization. But here Shanghai Cooperation Organization, since its inception, they are meeting on regular basis, and they meet on some common agenda or some common points, okay, on which they have to work. So here, good evening. So here we have to understand the crux, why this organization came into being, and what is the purpose of this organization, and whom this organization represent, okay, and objectives of this organization, and the future role of the organization, and very important, India's role in the organization. So whatever whatever organization India is part of, we should know what is the role of India in that particular organization. Okay, so here, as I said, that I took Shanghai Cooperation Organization topic, so we will discuss about that. So as the name suggests, it is Shanghai, and where the Shanghai is, it is in China. Okay, so the inception year of Shanghai Cooperation Organization was 2001. In 2001, China, along with some Central Asian countries, they met and they formed an organization that is called Shanghai Cooperation. So they met in Shanghai that year, that is why it named as Shanghai Cooperation. So here we need to know why they people met, what was the purpose behind it, and who all countries are there. So initially there were countries like China, and from among the Central Asian countries, there were Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Russia, and one more country was there, Tajikistan. One very important information I need to share here, that whenever you go through any international related news or international related issues, okay, or any organization, whenever you go through, if you are reading newspaper and you see some organizations meeting, some summits are happening, so you should remember and you should have that understanding that who all countries are part of and what are the locations of such countries. Okay, so here, as I said, that these are Central Asian countries, so you should know the location of such countries, where these countries are located, and you should know all such oceans or seas which these countries are sharing, or these countries are borders with. Okay, like if I talk about Aral Sea, where the Aral Sea is, any idea, anyone? Where is the Aral Sea situated? Any idea? सिर्फ लुधियाना ही है क्या सेंटर? सिर्फ लुधियाना सेंटर ही है क्या? नहीं, अभी जो ऑनलाइन है। अच्छा, okay. So guys, please try to answer the question where the Aral Sea is, which countries they are bordering, which countries are sharing this Aral Sea. So it is between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Okay, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. And if you see these countries are in a line, in a linear pattern. These countries are aligned. Like here is India. So India is bordering China from its northeastern part or northern part, and here at the western part there is Pakistan. Okay, and above India, China, there are these Central Asian countries. These are aligned. Okay, and there is Aral Sea. Aral Sea is it is encircled between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Okay, so here when this Shanghai Cooperation Organization formed, so initially these countries were there from the Central Asian countries. Okay, and if I talk about Russia, so Russia doesn't come under the Central Asian, it is Asian country, or it is called Eurasian, Europe plus Asia. Okay, so basically from Central Asian countries, this Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, so all such TAN countries, okay, TAN countries, so these are part of Central Asian countries. So here I just wanted to give you an impression that what important informations you should understand, okay, related to your subject. So here you need to understand the locations. So just go through the atlas whenever you read about international organizations, and you should understand, or you should know what all organizations India is part of. Okay, so what organizations, along with some cooperations, or along with some summits. Okay, so what all summits India is part of, so you should know about that. Okay, so here when its inception held in 2001, so these countries were there initially when they formed their alliance. But later on in 2004, Uzbekistan joined this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so this Shanghai Cooperation Organization came into being to counter some issues. What they have, some objectives, we will discuss about that, what all objectives are there. So these Central Asian countries, these are very mineral rich countries. Okay, they are rich in some mineral resources. So strategically these countries are important. Okay, they have some importance on international platform. So together they met, and whenever some organizations form their alliance, okay, whenever some countries form such organizations, so there are some strategic important points why these organizations met and they formed, why these countries met and they formed the organization. So you should understand that. So I would like to discuss some backgrounds over it. Okay, and that background is important for all other organizations too. Okay, as after World War II in 1941, okay, after the end of World War II, 1942, sorry, not 49, 1942, World War II, so it ended in 1942, and it ended with an agreement that going forward the countries on world platform, they would beware of such kind of wars which would take human resources or natural resources. Okay, so going forward we would have that understanding that we would not get indulged in any kind of war, okay, at world level or international level. So after the World War II, okay, the result of that the entire world, okay, entire countries of the world, they got divided into bipolar world. Okay, bipolar, that is USA and USSR. And the meaning of bipolar is that two power blocks. Okay, these were two power blocks. Bipolar, and these were two power blocks meaning that these countries were strong, they have that strength and they were powerful among any other country. Okay, they had that strength, and how they got that strength? They got their strength on economic basis. Okay, economically these countries were very sound, and see, whenever we need to understand the strength of an economy of a country, then you need to understand the strength is on the basis of economy of that country. Okay, why British India was so powerful before this World War II? There was a reason. There was a reason behind it, because before World War II, Britain had many colonies. Okay, Britain had colonies outside Europe. They had colony in Africa. They had their colony in that was India. Okay, they had some other colonies too. Okay, so from these colonies they were earning very much. Okay, they had very sound economy. But during World War II, when they get involved in World War II or World War I, so they they faced many losses in terms of human resources, losses in terms of money resources. Okay, so that is why after World War II, Britain had lost that power. Okay, that supreme power. So earlier, before World War II, Britain was the only superpower, but after World War II, two superpowers emerged, that was USA and USSR. So that was the era of bipolar world. Okay, and here USSR is a capitalist country. And USA is a capitalist country, and USSR, Union Soviet Socialist Republic. Union Soviet Socialist Republic. So that was a socialist country. So it is a Union Soviet, meaning union of some Soviet Socialist Republic countries. Okay, Republic meaning they have their elected head and they have the pattern of socialism, and this is union of Soviet Socialist Republic countries. Here USA, United States of America, meaning some states they got united and they formed a country. Just understand the name, why these names they have given, why it is named as USA and why it is named as USSR. Okay, so you should understand why it is United Kingdom. Okay, why Britain is called United Kingdom? Because it is union of such kingdoms, whether it is Wales or Ireland or any other. Okay, so they have united some kingdoms, they have union of those kingdoms. Okay, that is why it is called united. So after this World War II episode, the world got bifurcated or divided into two power blocks, that was USA and USSR. So since 1942 till 1991, from 1942 to 1991, these power blocks were existed, and there was a Cold War between these power blocks. Okay, Cold War between these power blocks. Cold War in the sense that they had some trade wars, and because they had different ideologies, so there was confrontation of ideology between these countries. Okay, and they confronted each other on many platforms. So since 1942 till 1991, these power blocks were existed, but in 1991, this USSR got collapsed. It got collapsed. Okay, so in 1991, this USSR got collapsed. So after collapsing, so that was Union Soviet Socialist Republic. So those such states who were part of this Union Soviet, now they were a part of this, they were a part of this Union Soviet. So now they declared their independence and they are existing as their as a single entity. So as India or any other country, so those countries who were part of this Union Soviet Socialist Republic, now they have their own identity. Okay, so from among those Union Soviet Socialist Republic, Russia was the biggest. Russia emerged as the biggest country because rulers or government from Russia, they were ruling all such areas. Okay, so Russia is the biggest country. So after the collapse of USSR, only Russia left. Okay, so here from bipolar, now the world became as known as unipolar. Okay, so after 1991, there was only one power bloc existed, that was USA, and it was called unipolar world. Okay, that was unipolar. But in present situation, if we see, do we have unipolar world these days? Are we now living in unipolar society or unipolar world? So after 1991, unipolar world existed, but in the present situation, now in the present situation, many developing countries, they are now emerging. Okay, they are now emerging, and how they are emerging? They are performing well in terms of economy. As I said, if any country have some strength or have some say on the international platform, so they have that say because of their economic strength, not military strength, but economic strength. Okay, so here in this present situation, many developing countries like China, Russia. Why Russia? Because Russia got after disintegration, they had to face a lot. Okay, they had to work a lot on their on their situations. Okay, so that is why, and now it is a developed country. Now India and many more countries are there. Okay, who are now they started performing well. Okay, so the present situation, it is now called multipolar world. Okay, so now that unipolar concept is not present, now multipolar concept is present, because many countries, they are now started performing well in their economic perspective. So now they started competing. Okay, they emerged as a competition to USA. Okay, because USA had trade with many other countries and they had very good trades with many other countries. But now many South Asian countries or Asian countries, now they started performing well and they started giving competition to USA. So here in the present situation, many of you must be knowing that these days a kind of trade war is going between China and USA. So here USA is a capitalist country and China is a communist country. Okay, where communist socialism existed, where all the resources belongs to the government. Okay, so government is the owner of all such resources. So here a trade war between China and USA is going on. So today we are living in a multipolar world, okay, where many power blocks are emerging. So why this SCO came into being? So now we would move on to that topic. Here they have some agenda. This organization have some agenda. As the members of this organization are part of Central Asian countries. Okay, Central Asian countries are members of this organization. So they are representing the Asia. They are representing the Asia continent. Okay. So here, if I talk about, here is America, that is American continent. Okay, America is there. Here, European countries are there. Okay, so Europe and America, they are they are economically sound, and nowadays these European countries, they also formed their union, that is called European Union. So they represent themselves in a single entity. That is their representation on the world level, it is into a single entity, that is European Union. Okay, so as here also the Asian continent, now the countries of this Asian continent they came together and they formed this organization. So here they are representing Asia. Okay, they are representing the strength of Asia. Okay. Now we will move on to objectives of this Shanghai Cooperation. So before moving on to objective, we would discuss about the other members of Shanghai Cooperation. So as I said, in 2001, 5 countries were there, okay, China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Okay, so 5 countries, 5 Asian plus Central Asian countries were there when it had its inception. Okay, and that was China, as I said, Russia, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Then in 2004, Uzbekistan also joined them. So till 2004, SCO had representation of Central Asian countries, Eurasia and Asia. Okay, so China is from Asia, Russia is from Eurasia, and these are part of Central Asia. Then they had some discussions over the membership of India. Okay, as India is emerging as a very strong economy, and we have our target to achieve 5 trillion economy. Okay, so India is also sounding well, India is also performing well in terms of economy. So India, and it represents a very big democracy. Okay, we are one of the big democracy. So here big democracy is there. So we have our political system of very unique nature. Then we have large population, and our citizens, they are living in many other countries also, so they are part of the economic activities also. So we have very good performer on the international platform. We have we have earned that goodwill. Okay, India as a country earned that goodwill on international platform. So here, when there were discussions that whether India should be part of Shanghai Cooperation or not, then there were discussions about Pakistan's membership also. Okay, as China is now friends with Pakistan, so they have very good relationship, they have very warm relationship. If China would given chance to choose among India or Pakistan, definitely that will choose Pakistan. Okay, because they support each other on international platform. Or Pakistan is now getting support from China monetarily, economically, anything. Okay, so here in 2017, India and Pakistan, they also became part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so after 2017, now they have 8 countries, 8 members actually. So now Shanghai Cooperation Organization is 8-member country organization. Okay, so now we will move on to their objective. So they had their first meeting at Shanghai, so they named this cooperation as Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In their headquarters is in Beijing. Okay, they made their headquarters in Beijing, that is also in China. Okay, so their headquarters is in Beijing. Now, what was their aim? Their aim to establish cooperation between the member states. Okay, cooperation. So it is working on cooperation. And what all cooperations are there, we will discuss about that. Okay, so they are having some cooperations, they are having cooperations on some matters. Okay, that is why their agenda is to counter America. Okay, counter America on several platforms. So here we will discuss about that. What was their aim? Their aim is to establish cooperation between member nations, as first aim is security related concerns. Security related concerns. Second is resolving border issues. Third is military cooperation. Fourth is intelligence sharing. Fifth is counter terrorism. And sixth aim is counter America. Counter America and its influence on Central Asia. Counter American influence on Central Asia. Okay, so their aim, the aim of the organization to work on the basis of cooperation. So to cooperate each other to work on such aims, and their first aim is security related concerns. So if I talk about security related concerns, so these security, whether it is internal security or external securities also. Okay, if we talk about internal security, so if there is any insurgency in particular country, particular member states, okay, so they have their aim to combat with such security related concerns. And if there anything, any activity which is going on international level, okay, like any terrorist activity or any insurgencies, okay, which affects the Central Asian countries, so their aim is to deal with that security related issues. Okay, so first aim is security related concerns. Second is resolving border issues. Border issues meaning like Russia after collapsing of USSR, so Russia had some border issues with some other countries, and those countries were part of USSR group. Okay, so like sometimes back there was a term, you must be knowing that, Crimean War. Okay, Crimea. So Crimea had issues with Russia on the on this border disputes. Okay, so and that is the case with the Central Asian countries. Okay, so in Central Asian countries, if there is any border related concerns or issues, so they also work on that, work to resolve such issues. Like India and Pakistan, India and China, they are also having border related issues. Like Doklam issue was between India and China. Okay, like POK issue, POK is between India and Pakistan. Okay, so all such issues are there which is related to their borders. Okay, countries who all are sharing borders. So if there anything, if any problem is related to border related issues, so they also work on that. Then military cooperation. Okay, every country has their military. So and every country has their strength, okay, military strength. So here military cooperation is also part of this cooperation organization. So countries who all are members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they have some military exercises, and in those military exercises they learn the tactics of their each other's military. Okay, whether it is army, air force or naval, so they learn each other tactics, and if any situation arises where they need to work together, so they also ready for that. They are also ready for that to work on together. So here from military cooperation, a togetherness feeling arises. Then intelligence sharing. So any intelligence means any security related issues, like any insurgent group, if it is about to harm any country, okay. So here they would share the intelligence agencies also among these countries, and they would share the tactics, you can say, okay. Then counter terrorism. These days terrorism is now has now become a global matter, okay, because it is very severe problem which world is facing, and many insurgent groups are there who are emerging day by day, and they have their own purpose, they have their own agendas, and they are not happy with any situation, okay. So they go against such countries, or they go against such ideologies, and they form their insurgent groups. So now terrorism has become a global problem. So to tackle this global problem, all these upper mentioned aims are there. So they work to counter terrorism on global platform. How global platform? Like these member countries, okay. This is a global organization. So on these member countries, if any country faces some such situation, and if their need arises, then they would help each other in such situation, and they would they would cooperate each other on global platform to counter this terrorism activities or terrorism problem. Then very important, counter American influence on Central Asia. As America, as I said, unipolar world, okay. So economically it was sound, or economic strength America had. So America had influence on Afghanistan, Pakistan, or many other countries also. Like America had their investment on those in those countries, okay. So after that unipolarity era, China started emerging, okay. China started emerging as a a powerful country, okay. So China had that idea that it is not, it can counter America's influence. How? So, and this is not, this cannot be done single-handedly. So, if USA had its influence on Central Asian countries, then why don't we get together and form such organizations? Why to take help from other countries if we are sounding very well, okay, we are sounding well in economic terms. If we have such resources, so why don't we utilize that? So we should work, we should cooperate each other, and we should emerge as our own identity. We should enhance our own identity, okay. So here also, here this aim is to counter America's influence on Central Asia. As sometimes back in 2017, you must have heard of news that America gave India responsibility to take care of Afghanistan. Like whatever Afghanistan is facing issues, okay, whatever issues is facing, so India was given as a reward, okay, to take care of Afghanistan, to work on its developmental activities, okay, to give assistance to USA to work on the development in the Afghanistan, okay. So that is, Afghanistan is also part of Central Asian country, okay. So if Afghanistan has influence of USA, so it is and other countries have different ideologies than USA, so there must be some confrontations, okay. So that is why this organization came up, and they had this agenda to counter, to stop America's influence, okay. So that they themselves emerge as powerful or as economically viable, so that they should not take America's help. So if any country gives you, assist you in any kind of projects, like any infrastructure projects, any developmental projects, so obviously that country has influence of the country who is sanctioning all such money or all such help. Okay, so here too, that this is the situation. So that is why these countries had an impression that they should counter the influence of America on from Central Asian countries. Okay, so these were some 6 aims of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay. Now we would discuss about some major themes. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this year why it is important, because this year in June they met, they had their meeting, and every year they meet. So head of the state councils, they meet on yearly basis. Okay, head of the state council. So who are the head of the state council? Every organization have such councils, okay, have such councils, and those councils have some leaders. So in many cases, PM is the head of that state council. So here also PM went to represent India, okay. So every year they meet on yearly basis. This year they met in June, okay. June 2019, and where they met? They met in Bishkek, that is in Uzbekistan. So if they are meeting in, they have their meeting place in those member countries only. Okay, so here they are meeting, they met at Bishkek, that is in Uzbekistan. Okay. So they discussed some major themes. And what were the major themes? Terrorism. Major themes of their discussion. First was terrorism. Second was regional cooperation. And third thing was future of Afghanistan. So these were 3 major themes of the discussion of the meeting of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization in June this year. So 3 important things are there that you should know. They meet on yearly basis, and who meets? The head of the state council. Okay. Then they met in Uzbekistan this year. They met, they discussed on major themes, and these major themes were terrorism, regional cooperation, and future of Afghanistan. So these 2 we discussed. Now we will discuss about future of Afghanistan. As I said, see, Afghanistan is very rich in natural resources. Okay, this country has many natural resources, but the problem is in Afghanistan is it is an Islamic country, and they want to set up a democratic country. Okay, they want to set up Afghanistan as a democratic country, but there are many tribals. Okay, almost 70% of the population, they are tribals and group of tribals, and you must have heard about Taliban. So this Taliban is nothing, these are group of tribes. Okay, these are tribes of Afghanistan. So basically they are against the idea of democracy. They do not want to set up democracy in Afghanistan, and because of this countergency, they do not want Afghanistan to develop. Okay, and if there is any political rule in Afghanistan where Taliban has no, you can say, hold, okay, because Taliban has their hold in some hilly areas, okay, but the remaining Afghanistan, they have political rule, okay, that is based on the democracy. So that is why there is a counter between that democratic political system and Taliban. So Taliban tries to disturb that political system, and that is why this due to counter this situation, Afghanistan sought the help of USA. Okay, so USA was there to help Afghanistan in that situation, and in 2017 USA declared USA actually rewarded India to give the responsibility in the development of Afghanistan. Okay, so India had that responsibility to help Afghanistan in developmental process. So here in this meeting, they had this theme also, that was future of Afghanistan. So, being a Central Asian country, this organization had an impression that they should they should look after the situation of Afghanistan, so that USA cannot enter into Afghanistan. So now they should work on the situation of Afghanistan. Okay, so here that was the part of the discussion under this meeting. Then they also you can say promote, what they promote? Eurasian neighborhood. Okay, they promote the concept of Eurasian neighborhood. Okay, Europe plus Asia. So there is a concept, and this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, so it is not against of any other political front. It wants to work on the basis of cooperation. Okay, so here they have that impression to promote the concept of Eurasian neighborhood. Okay, so because on global platform you should be united, you should represent yourself in a united way, that you have harmony among such countries. Okay, you have warm relationships among countries. Okay, and China is looking for warmer relationships with many countries because of what? Because of very important concept of Belt and Road Initiative. Because you know, in this multipolar world, China is above all the countries. Okay, because economically China is viable. China is sounding well in terms of economy. So to promote its Belt and Road initiatives, China sought the support of other countries also. Okay, like this Belt and Road initiative, or maritime Silk Route, that is also part of Belt and Road initiative. So this Belt and Road initiative, it is a kind of belt. Okay, it is a connecting line or connecting road, okay, which would pass through all such countries where who all countries have they have accepted this Belt and Road initiative. Okay, so Chinese influence is existed in those countries who are part of this Belt and Road initiative. Okay, so here BRI is also there. So to promote this BRI initiative, China is promoting its economic strength, because if China is let's say in Tajikistan, okay, we just take an example of Tajikistan. If Chinese road is passing through Tajikistan, so obviously China would invest in that project. Okay, so if Chinese investment is there, so obviously this investment is a kind of debt on Tajikistan. Okay, if there is a debt of China on Tajikistan, so obviously Chinese influence would be there on Tajikistan. Okay, so here through this BRI, it is just influencing its control. Its control on countries. Okay, so that is why China is looking to work on Afghanistan's situation. Okay, so and this is the only reason they want to counter America. Okay, so to stop the influence of America on Afghanistan. Okay, to set up its own influence or control on those countries. Okay, so if till the time they are working on cooperation, it is good. Okay, if any organization working on cooperation, so till that time it is good on global platform. But if any country started influencing, okay, or started setting up their own influence on such organization or such countries, so here question arises and there may be some discontent arises, okay, in that situation. Now we will discuss India's role. So if India is part of any organization, so there must be some strategic importance of in terms of India's role and of that organization. Okay, so here we will discuss about that thing. So first we will discuss about India and Pakistan. We would have an overview. As from 2017, India and Pakistan is part of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So this platform of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it gives India and Pakistan a platform where they can discuss over issues or discontent which they are facing. Okay, so as we can see that India and Pakistan, they were members of SAARC. They were members of SAARC, South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. So SAARC summit used to happen on yearly basis, but due to disturbing relationship between India and Pakistan, this meeting is now discontinued. Okay, the meeting of SAARC countries is now discontinued. So somewhere 8 countries were there who were members of this SAARC nations, SAARC organization. Okay, who all were there? India, and all such surrounding countries. So here Pakistan was there, who was part of this SAARC, then Afghanistan, then Sri Lanka, then Maldives, then Myanmar, then one more, Bangladesh was there, Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, so 8 member countries was there of this SAARC summit. Okay, so SAARC summit had 8 member countries, and all those member countries, India was the biggest country, biggest democracy among those 8 member countries, and all those countries who are surrounding India, they were part of this SAARC summit. But due to bad relationship or due to cold relationship of India and Pakistan, this SAARC summit is now discontinued. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization gives India and Pakistan a platform to discuss over issues between them. Okay, because this organization, they are meeting on regular basis. Okay, they are working on cooperation. So there are chances that India and Pakistan can make their relationship warmer. They can talk on issues which they are facing. Okay, so that is one of the importance of this nation. And one more thing is there, not even with Pakistan, with Afghanistan also, as Afghanistan is not part of Shanghai Cooperation, but Afghanistan's role is there. Okay, Afghanistan is passively member of, you can say not member, but passively Afghanistan is existed in this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so this platform gives a chance to discuss over such issues. So now we will discuss about what is India's role in that. So when India was part of this part of the meeting of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization at Bishkek. So India represented its agenda. Okay, an agenda was represented by India, and what was that agenda? India represented a template. Template meaning how they are now going to work, how they are now going to, what is the aim of India towards this Shanghai cooperation. Okay, so it represented a template that was called health. So health template was represented by India. What was the meaning of this health template? So health means healthcare protection. E, economic cooperation. A, alternative technology. L, literature and culture. T stands for terrorism free society. H for humanitarian. Humanitarian. Humanitarian cooperation. Okay. So that was the template which was represented by India for in this Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. So under this template, India represented its agenda that India would work on these areas. Okay, India would cooperate on these areas. So from healthcare protection, so under this healthcare protection, they would work on the healthcare sectors. Okay, they would work on the improvement of the healthcare systems, and they would set up the healthcare system in a better way. Okay, and among those countries, so they would invest, they would help each other, they would sanction. Okay, so that was the idea from H. From economic cooperation, so here economic cooperation meaning in terms of trade. Okay, so they would promote the trading activities among these member nations or member countries. So economic cooperation. Then alternative technologies. So this alternative technology, it has a wider meaning. Okay. Alternative technologies means in terms of information technology, in terms of climate related technology, in terms of space related technology. Okay. So here is the sharing of those alternative technologies. What India is having technology, India would share with other member countries. What other member countries have something good in terms of technology, they would share with that with India or other member countries. So here alternative technology was one of the agenda of India. Then literature and culture. India has shared culture. Okay, that India has shared its culture with Pakistan and Afghanistan. If we see modern history, not only modern history, if we see history, okay, since ancient times. So since ancient times, India had its rule, India had its influence in Afghanistan, India had trade relations with Afghanistan, and under Kanishka, India's rule was till Afghanistan. Okay, so we have a shared culture which we share with Afghanistan and Pakistan. So here is an impression that we should promote our literature and culture among these member nations, not only with Afghanistan and Pakistan. We have that shared culture with them, but we should promote these things, our literature, not only our literature, their literature also, their culture also. So there would be an intermingling on the cultural perspective. Okay, intermingling of culture. We would get to know their culture, we would get to know their society. Okay, so there would be an intermingling. If anyone gets to know about the culture of any other person, okay, so they get influenced, or they find something good in that culture. Okay, so here intermingling is promoting. Okay, so promotion of intermingling is there from literature and culture. Then terrorism-free society. As I said that terrorism is a global problem these days. Okay, so here from T it stands for terrorism-free society. So to set up a terrorism-free society, these countries should work together. Okay, should work together to confront any terrorism activities, to confront any terrorist groups or insurgent groups. Okay, they should work together to counter that insurgent or terrorism activities. Then last thing is humanitarian cooperation. Okay, so they need to cooperate on humanitarian basis, like in any epidemic situation, like in any natural calamity situation, or like in any assistance needed by any country. Okay, so they would work together to provide that humanitarian cooperation. So that was the agenda of India in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so PM highlighted, as PM was part of, PM represented India. So he highlighted the spirit and ideals of SCO to strengthen cooperation in fight against terrorism. So if you have seen in news, whenever our government, whenever any representative of government, either it is PM or president or any other minister, if they go on international platform, they talk about combating terrorism problem. They talk about global terrorism problem. So here also PM said that they would strengthen the cooperation in fight against terrorism. So this terrorism is a common theme in many summits, international summits. So here also he gave the he highlighted the spirit of and ideals of SCO, that SCO would, that Shanghai Cooperation Organization would work to would cooperate to work against this terrorism problem. Okay, so he highlighted that and focused on better economic ties among SCO nations. Okay, better economic ties, and that was here economic cooperation. Okay, so we would under this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, all the member countries, they would work on their trade relations. They would improve their trade relations. Okay, so that is the that was highlighted by the PM. Okay. Then one more thing, he urged the SCO leaders to organize a global conference on terrorism. Okay, so here terrorism is a very big issue, which about which our PM he highlighted that SCO should work against that. Okay, SCO should work to combat terrorism problem. So our agenda should be to end the terrorism problem, terrorist free society we should set up. Okay, so under this this platform, it gives a platform, this Shanghai Cooperation Organization gives a platform where India and Pakistan can also talk about their problems. They can resolve their problems. Okay, so now that was India's agenda in this. Now what is the India's importance? So before moving on to India's importance, we talk about terrorism. Okay, that PM said that we should combat, Shanghai Cooperation Organization should work together to make a terrorism-free society. So what they will do? Okay, SCO has set up one, you can say an sub office or you can say organization, that is called RATS, SCO RATS, which is dedicatedly work against terrorism. Okay, terrorism issues. So RATS means Regional Anti-Terror Structure. Regional Anti-Terror Structure. And it was set up in 2004 when Uzbekistan became member. Okay, when Uzbekistan became member, that year this SCO RATS came into being. Okay, so where it came into being? It came into being at Tashkent meeting that held in Uzbekistan. Okay, so this SEO rats came into being, and what they will do, their aim is to fight cross-border crimes like drug trafficking and cyber warfare. Okay, this SEO rat which work on cross-border related issues, and these issues would crimes like drug trafficking, cyber warfare, and under this cyber warfare to counter terrorism, okay, to counter terrorism influence. Okay. So they work on cross-border related issues, cross-border crimes like drug trafficking. Drug trafficking means like illegal market of drugs, okay, illegal smuggling of drugs. Drugs from one border to another border, like that is called cross-border, from India to Pakistan or Pakistan to India or India to China to India or China to any other country. Okay, so that is called cross-border. So here they would work against this drug trafficking, and that too cross-border crimes. Okay, so they would work against that, and rats would work against that in that. Then cyber warfare to counter terrorism influence. Okay, because in this technology era, okay, information technology is very it has become part of our everybody's life, and if you see terrorist activities, so they work on such information technology platform, okay, cyber platform. So here they would utilize the cyber system, okay, to combat the problem of terrorism, okay, because if you see many times we see that some groups or insurgent groups, they circulate their messages on social media, okay, and these are against the will of the country, and those messages or those videos, it got circulated, it influences people, okay. So to break that influence, they would utilize the cyber platform, okay, to counter the terrorism problems. So India has been participating in tactical drills and counter terror cooperation with other SEO members under RADS, okay. So India is also part of some drills that held under Shanghai Cooperation Organization, RADS, okay, Regional Anti-Terror Structure, and every year SEO members have their military exercises, okay, military exercises. Exercise that is called center. Okay, so here center is in you can say maybe it is Russian because T is silent here, okay, so center. So that is the name of the military exercise, and under this military exercise all the members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they send their military troops for some drills, okay, mock drills, and they here they show their tactical skills, okay, and they learn each other's skills. India has military exercises with any other countries, like with Pakistan it is having, with China it is having, with USA it is having, okay, with Maldives it is having, with Nepal it is having. So why these days military exercises is happening, okay, it is happening to combat the problems of terrorism, okay, or any other problems if any country faces. So we together work against those situations, okay, we together work against those insurgents. So that is why these military exercises are happening these days, and this is part of one of the agendas, that was military cooperation. So here they will cooperate on militaries, okay, military basis, military perspective. So here cooperation is there and existed, and that existed through these military exercises under the name of center. So, and this is also part of this Shanghai Cooperation RATS, okay. So that was it. Now the importance of India becoming its member. If you see India and China, importance of India. India and China are highly populated country. China is number 1 on population and India is number 2 on population. Okay, so India and China, they together form, they together represent at least 40% of the world population. Okay, 40% of the world population. And SCO with all the 8 member countries, they also represent a very big chunk of economic strength. Okay, so if we see the economic strength of Shanghai Cooperation Organization member countries, so it is also very big. Okay, it is also very influencing on global platform. So India's importance is that India represent a big democratic country, and India is representing big platform, okay, huge population, okay, and one of the emerging economies along with China. So it is very important here that India's performance and India's role. Okay, so with the presence of India in China, world most populous country, SCO has largest population coverage. Okay, so Shanghai Cooperation Organization has largest population coverage. India's entry in group is expected to increase the group's heft in regional geopolitics. Okay, so as India is having very warmer relationship with any other countries, okay, like with USA also, like with China, with any Central Asian country or any West Asian country or any countries in these down south. Okay, so India is having very warmer relationship with other countries because it follows the policy of neighborhood first. Okay, it follows the policy of neighborhood first. So India keeps the it takes the care of their neighbors also. So here, because India is India's role is very you know, you can say India has that importance, or India has that you can say on the global platform it has a say. Okay, it has a very it has a goodwill. You can say goodwill of India is that if it is being it is the part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, so it has enhances its role on global platform or geopolitical platform. Okay, so that is the you can say the importance of India being its member. Okay, so if whatever issues they keep on global platform through this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, so they can now work on those issues. Okay, they can now combat those issues, and together they have to work together, they have to cooperate on those issues. And Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it has formed a membership it has formed the members of those countries who have very rich mineral resources. So if countries are having rich mineral resources, it means that they are strategically very important, okay, in terms of economy, in terms of relations with other countries. Okay, so that was the idea of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So we discussed all such parameters like its membership and the purpose of those purpose of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, then role of India in this Organization. Okay, so that was the lecture on Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now we would move on the next topic, and our next topic would be Global Livability Index. Okay, this is another topic, Global Livability Index. Global Livability Index. What is the meaning of Global Livability Index? Reason of taking this issue is that UPSC asked question on index basis. Okay, this year also they asked one index, that was Global Competitiveness Index. Okay, that who is the publisher of that Global Competitiveness Index. Okay, so they ask question who publishes such index. They can ask question India's rank in that index. Okay, or they can ask on the parameters on which these indexes are published. Okay, so here I am taking this global livability index. Okay, so here livability means it publish indexes of such cities which are livable. Okay, so livability depends on many other factors. We will discuss about that. So first we would discuss that who publishes this index. So here publisher of this index is the Economist Intelligence Unit. Economist Intelligence Unit. So EIU is the publisher. Okay, is the publisher of this Global Livability Index. So in 2019 they published, they released this livability index. So India and they give their give the result of this index on the basis of 140 countries. So they have data of 140 countries. They see the data, they have 140 countries as members, and among those 140 countries they give the rankings to the countries or to the cities. So among 140 global cities, actually cities not countries, global cities, based on their living conditions or livability. Okay, so conditions, livability means conditions favorable for living. That is the meaning of livability. Okay, so approx 140 cities, global cities are there in this index, and on the basis of the conditions favorable for living, they releases the result. What is its significance? So the significance is it represents the challenges. What challenges? It quantifies challenges that might be presented to an individual's lifestyle. Okay, individual's lifestyle. And how these individual lifestyles can be quantified? It can be quantified on the basis of water, on the basis of you can say urbanization, okay, urban population, on the basis of facilities what they are having, okay, like proper air conditioned environment, natural air conditioned environment, proper sewage, proper solid waste management, all such parameters are there, and environmentally viable cities, okay, how these cities, and see, livability index is the, if they are talking about the livability, so it means that conditions favorable for livings. So conditions belongs to economic viability, environmental viability and urbanization. Okay, if we talk about urbanization, so urbanization comes with many problems, okay, many problems in terms of environment. Okay, so here is this livability index has impression that they see those cities who are part of this index, that which city is performing well on such parameters. Okay, they are not compromising on the standards of those parameters. Okay, so it quantifies challenges that might be presented to an individual's lifestyle in 140 cities worldwide and assesses which location provide the best living conditions. Okay, best living conditions. So living conditions is like urban situation, then solid waste management should be there, sewage treatment plants should be there, then clean air should be there, less pollution should be there. Okay, so favorable conditions for living should present in that city. So survey rates city based on 30 quantitative. Now if they are releasing some such index, so there should be some parameters on which they are releasing that the ranking. So what are the parameters? So basically somewhere 30 quantitative measures are there. 30 quantitative measures are there on which they see which city is more viable and which city is having more good living conditions. Okay, and these 30 quantitative criteria, they fall into 5 general categories. These 30 quantitative and qualitative, not only quantitative, it is also qualitative. So these fall into 5 categories. Okay, and what all categories are there? First category is stability. Second is healthcare. Stability, healthcare. Third is culture and environment. Fourth is education, and fifth is infrastructure. Fifth is infrastructure. So these are the 5 categories. Okay, and these 5 categories sets some 30 parameters, quantitative and qualitative parameters. Okay, so you should know the names of these 5 categories upon which the livability index is released. So if I talk about stability, so stability means how stable a city is in terms of lifestyle. Okay, if it is having good markets, if it is having more urban population, more urbanization, okay, that is the purpose of stability, because in the rural areas you would not get so many facilities. Okay, you would deprived of many facilities. So under stability, they see the more urbanized factor, more urbanization related factors, okay, in the stability. Next is healthcare. Like healthcare system should be viable, should be sound. Okay, healthcare system, primary healthcare system, secondary healthcare systems, tertiary healthcare system. So these healthcare systems should be viable and sound. Okay, so that is one of the category. Next is culture and environment. As I said, environment related. So environment related meaning less pollution, then sewage treatment plants, okay, then solid waste management, then green cities. Okay, if urbanization is there, it doesn't mean that it would compromise with the greenery or the environment. Okay, so green concept of green building or green cities can be promoted. So if any city is having less pollution and if it is having good environmental conditions, then that city tops actually. Okay, and culture, where there is respect of culture. Okay, meaning harmony between the cultural sections. Okay, harmony between different cultural sections. So it means that peaceful. Okay, it promotes the peacefulness of that particular area or particular city. Then education. So how education facilities are sounding. Okay, if it is good, so if any city is having good education facilities, obviously it will have good ranking. Okay, next is infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure meaning road connectivity, bridges, okay, then buildings, okay, then connectivity from connectivity to exterior areas, okay, or like we can say in Delhi, like metro. Metro is you know, environmental friendly because it runs on electricity, not on any other fuel. Okay, so all such infrastructure related matters. Okay, so these 5 categories are there to judge these cities on these basis, okay, to give ranking. So here what is important? The importance is categories. First we discussed categories, who publishes or who releases. Okay, so publishes or releases, so that was EIU, Economist Intelligence Unit, that was there. Yeah, Economist Intelligence Unit. Then another thing is ranking of cities. So who's ranking? First rank. Who is topped in this Global Livability Index 2019? So the top city is Vienna. Vienna is in Austria. Okay, Vienna is having its historical importance. Okay, like they have a very rich culture. Okay, Roman culture. So if you have gone through world history, then you can get an idea their historical importance. Okay, so Vienna has topped in this ranking. It means that it has met these parameters. Okay, it has met the expectations of these parameters. Then another important thing is India's cities. If any Indian city is part of this Global Livability Index. So 2 cities are has been ranked. One is New Delhi and another is Mumbai. Okay, so Delhi has got its rank 118 and 119. Okay, so out of 140, India got one of the Indian cities, New Delhi has got 118th rank and Mumbai has got 119th rank. So 2 cities of India is listed in this livability index, meaning India. So if we see 118 and 19, so that means that we need to work a lot to improve our ranking in this livability index. Okay, there are some in these parameters there are many lacuna on which we have to work, on its improvement. We have to work on the improvement of healthcare, we have to work on the improvement of education, we have to work on the improvement of infrastructure. Okay, that it means that we have to work a lot to improve the ranking. Okay, so 2 cities are there in the livability index, that is New Delhi and Mumbai from India. Okay, they have given reason of the decline. Okay, why decline? Because in earlier in New Delhi's rank was 114, okay, maybe 114th rank was there, but in Delhi has, or Indian city has got down, okay, its ranking has got down. So here they also published the reason behind its decline, reason behind decline of ranking of Indian cities. What all reasons are there? They have given reason. First is abuses against journalists, okay. So first reason they have given that abuses against journalists. Second reason they have given rise in crime rates. Rise in crime rates. Third reason they have given climate change. Climate change. And the last reason they have given about constrained livability conditions. Constrained livability conditions. So first is abuses against journalists, then rise in crime rates, then climate change, then constrained livability conditions. So we are lagging in these situations. So here you can see many instances are there, or other countries also, cities of other countries also, so they are lagging in these on these parameters. Okay, as I said that 5 categories we discussed sometimes back. So 5 categories were there, and under those 5 categories 30 quantitative and qualitative measures were there. So these are 5 those qualitative and quantitative measures on which we our performance has been degraded or declined. Okay, so abuse against journalists has increased, rise in crime rates. So you can see NCRB data. Okay, so crime rates has been increased. Then obviously climate change. Okay, we are facing many climate change we can see situations like urban flooding. We are facing such problems, urban flooding, then drought-like situation, then imbalanced monsoon pattern, okay, imbalanced rain. So also, and these all are because of climate change, okay. And why this we are facing this climate change problem? Because of growing urbanization, okay. Trees are getting cut and to reform such areas into urban area, okay. So we are compromising with the environmental conditions. Then constrained livability conditions. Livability conditions meaning that we have constraints in facilities like education, facilities like healthcare system, like urbanized situations, okay, like solid waste management, like sewage treatment, like cleanliness, okay. So all such livability conditions here, we are facing constraints, okay. So these are the reasons of our decline, okay. So that was Global Livability Index. Point number 1, abuse against journalists, okay. As I said, like in the current situation, you can see that media, particularly that electronic media, okay. So they have a very wider reach, okay. They have very wider reach, but these days what is happening? They have got divided, okay. They have got divided on the ideologies, and many a times we see that if and that is particularly in the social media, that electronics media has been criticized, okay. Journalist has been criticized. So here not only abuses against journalists has been risen, In fact, crime against journalists has also risen. If any journalist is is abused on parting with any political party, or if any journalist is working like an activist, so he or she gets threatening calls or any kind of threats she or he may face. So that is under the abuse against journalists. Like, not even their you can say professional, in fact their personal life is also getting hampered, okay, because of these abuse against journalists. And this is because these days social media has its impact on the individuals' minds, okay. People, they circulate their ideas against many issues, like, and that is one of the issues, the journalist issues, okay. For example, you can see like NDTV. So NDTV these days, it is debarred from the large chunk of population. Like, they say they are against of the current government, and any other media or any other channels, if they are promoting government's schemes or they are promoting government's policies, so they are charged with that they are favoring the government's policies, or they are just speaking the government's language. So nowadays we are now divided on ideology, and these are driven by the political ideology actually, because media is the, you can say that media is the voice of the society, okay, voice of the society. But nowadays they are seen as voice of political parties, okay. So because of that, and many times you can see that electronic media is play the role of activists, social activists. They work on the problems of the society, okay. And if they are working on the problems of the society, so many times they get threatens, okay. They got threatened on through any person or through any group, okay. So that is under the abuse against journalists. Any other question? Any other question? So that was under Global Livability Index. So you can make notes of it. Who publishes this, who releases this report, and what is who has topped this index, and what is the situation of India. So what is the situation of Indian cities, okay, and what are the reasons behind the decline of Indian cities, or what are the reasons behind the improvement of Indian cities, if it has given, okay. So you should understand those, and you should take notes of that, and you can revise it at the time of your examination. Now, these days, we will move on to another topic. So now these days we can see there are many developments are happening in terms of technologies, okay. Whether it is space related technology or it is artificial intelligence technology or information technology or cyber related technology. So we are now taking interest on the developmental part of such technologies. So these days you can see, like in space technology, we are sounding very well. We are India is infusing its money on space related technologies, okay. So first I would like to discuss about one topic that was, just give me a second, one topic was there, like Chandrayaan 2 we launched, and under Chandrayaan 2 that we sent our lander and rover to work on the Chandrayaan, to get the idea of the you can say the study on the moon, okay, to get an idea of how the topography of moon is, and we had an idea to get the knowledge of the area of that area of the moon where which is inaccessible, which was inaccessible, okay. That was southern pole of the moon. So that was one of the project India had. So here we are not discussing Chandrayaan, we would discuss it later on. One thing I would discuss, that is Samudrayaan project, and one more thing I had to discuss with you, but I am not getting its notes. Anyway, we would continue with Samudrayaan project. as the name suggests that it is Samudrayan. Samudrayan means ocean. Samudra means what? Ocean. And yan means vehicle. And as the case with Chandrayaan, so Chandra was moon and vehicle, yan was vehicle, so space vehicle. So here also India is working on this Samudrayan project. So as Chandrayaan has been sent on the moon to study the topography of the moon. So as here, and not only to study the topography of the moon, they can collect some data, they can collect some samples of the soil, they can collect some samples of the materials which they may found on the moon. Okay, but unfortunately, as we know that the lander, when it tried to land, we just displaced the contact, we just lost the contact. But here in the Samudrayan, the idea is that we would explore what? Ocean. Okay, here we would explore ocean, like we had an idea to explore moon in under Chandrayaan project. So under this Samudrayan project, we have an idea to explore ocean. And why there is a need to explore ocean? Because oceans are having very extensive natural resources or mineral resources. Okay. Because of sedimentations, lots of fossil fuels we can get. Okay, we can get lots of marine ecosystem, and these marine ecosystem, it is very useful in the healthcare sectors. Okay, medicinal properties they are having. So we can use those minerals or those resources in for another purposes. Okay, so what is the idea of Samudrayan project? That India to undertake deep ocean mining with this project. So what is that? Deep ocean mining. Okay, so under this Samudrayan project, India would go for deep ocean mining. Okay, so it is a pilot project of Ministry of Earth This is also very important, like which ministry is working for such project. Okay, so Ministry of Earth Science. Ministry of Earth Science is working on this project for deep ocean mining of rare minerals, okay, which we would found in the beneath the ocean surface. Okay, so it is possible to send men into deep ocean in a submersible vehicle for ocean studies. So it is not that we would only send our any you can say any kind of vehicle, okay, any kind of machine. So here we are not sending any kind of machine beneath the sea, but here is, there is an idea to send men, okay, to send people, to send experts beneath the surface of the ocean. Okay, so it is man-made. It is, you can say, what is the term called? Men into sea. So there is an idea to send men into the sea to study on the minerals, to get the samples of those minerals, so that we can explore those minerals. Okay, so it may get completed by 2021 or 22. So that is the that is the year they have taken to achieve that target. So project is undertaken by National Institute of Ocean Technology, okay, NIOT. So ministry is Ministry of Earth Science plus National Institute of Ocean Technology. So they would assist Ministry of Earth Science into this project. So they would send men into the ocean, okay, ocean surface to read the mineral resources, and it would be undertaken by Ministry of Earth Science along with National Institute of Ocean Technology. If it gets successful, India will join the League of Developed Nations in the exploration of minerals from oceans. So many developed countries, they had already sent their projects. They had already worked on the projects of deep ocean mining. Okay. So India would also join that group, okay, join that group who had worked on the exploration of the minerals from oceans. So India could be the first developing country to undertake in such projects, okay. So maybe till now USA has completed that project, okay. So after that, India would be the first developing country who would send their technology to beneath the sea to read the mineral resources. So what all minerals are there? One mineral is there, that is polymetallic nodules. As this is the exploration of rare minerals. So one rare mineral is called polymetallic nodule. Polymetallic nodule, and what this nodule is, this is manganese rich nodule, okay. This nodule has manganese, okay, and this is a potato shaped nodule, and it is having very you can say that porous nodules, like many pores are there, and under these pores, like if I say that it is a potato shaped and many pores are there, it is porous kind of, and under these pores, okay, under these pores, these manganese are there, okay. So it is very, and it is a kind of very rare mineral resource, okay, because you cannot see such kind of resources on the surface of the earth, but in the deep ocean surface we can get those kind of minerals. So largely porous nodules that formed in the abundance carpeting the seafloor of world ocean in deep sea. So in the deep sea they are existed in a large number, okay. So it is extended in extensive, it is present extensively on the deep ocean surface, okay. So that is one of the rare mineral. Then composition is, besides manganese and iron, they contain nickel, copper, cobalt, lead, molybdenum, cadmium, titanium, of which nickel, cobalt and copper are considered to be of economic and strategic importance. So not only manganese, along with manganese there are cobalt, nickel, cadmium, titanium. So many resources, many mineral resources are there in this polymetallic nodule, okay. So it is made up of those. So what is the potential? Potential is, if 10% of recovery of the large reserves can get the we can get the energy requirement of India for next 100 years. If we explore 10% of that area, okay, if 10% exploration is there of deep ocean mining, then we would meet for next 100 years resources. So whatever resources we are going to utilize for next 100 years, we can get it just by exploring the 10% of area of deep ocean mining. And this deep ocean mining would be where they would go for this deep ocean mining. They would go to Central Indian Ocean. Central Indian Ocean. So India would explore Indian Ocean, and that was the central of the Indian Ocean part, and they would try to get those metallic minerals, okay. So if we get if we explore 10% of those resources, then we can meet our 100 years resources. We can meet the okay. So that was there under Samudrayan project. So under this Samudrayan project, one more thing is there, like assistance of country. So it is indigenous to India. So India would work on this, and India is it is work on the indigenous basis. So that is only the Indian project. So it is not taking help of any other country. So it is very we are technology very sound these days, and we are exploring such we are exploring space, we are exploring deep ocean also. And as I said that India is the only country who is going to work on this project, okay, who is going to work on the deep ocean mining project. It is the only developing country, okay. Now another topic is India to have its own space station. Where would India would have its own space station? Like till now, developing countries has its own space station, okay, International Space Station. And what all countries are there? 5 participating countries are there, international space stations, that is USA, Russia, Japan, Europe and Canada. Okay, so these 5 countries are part of the international space stations, and they represent their space organizations. So in USA has NASA, Russia has Roscosmos, JAXA of Japan, then ESA of Europe, then CSA of Canada. So these 5 countries is having their own having their international space station. So India has planned to have its own space station at a time to frame. Launch would be 5 to 7 years after Gaganyaan. Okay, so Gaganyaan is a project where they would send men, or they would send men to space, okay, and they would explore the lower Earth orbit under this Gaganyaan project. So they have taken 5 to 7 years of time after the launch of Gaganyaan project, and after the launch of Gaganyaan project, they would have their own space station, okay. And what is the purpose of that purpose of space stations? The purpose is that they can explore, okay, the purpose is to explore the space from that space station, okay. So Gaganyaan would be the first manned mission of India that is scheduled by August 2022. So if we have scheduled our Gaganyaan by 2022, so after 5 to 7 years we have the plan to have our own space station. So by 2029 or 30 or 31 we would have our own space station. And one more thing about Gaganyaan is that the launching vehicle would be GSLV Mark III. So we would India would send its launch its Gaganyaan project through GSLV Mark III vehicle, okay. Why GSLV? Because they are sending this Gaganyaan to Earth orbit, lower Earth orbit, okay, LEO, into the LEO. So the proposed space station would weigh around 20 tons and serves a facility where astronauts could stay for 15 to 20 days and would be placed in an orbit 400 kilometers above the Earth. Okay, so the purpose of this space station is that space station is that whenever we send our astronauts, okay, they could stay there, and from staying there they could explore the space, okay. explore space and they can have their own study, okay. They can explore, they can collect samples, they can explore the environment of this space, they can have extensive idea about this space and whatever achievements they are going for. So they could stay for like 15 to 20 days and study about the space and study and explore the space, okay. So that is there, and that is the working under International Space Station also. As I said, the 5 countries are members of International Space Station, like they are having their space stations, okay. They are having the shares on that space station. So there they send their astronauts, or they just stay for some days and they explore the areas or any project they are going for, okay. So it provides a small module for microgravity experiments. And what is that microgravity? Microgravity means space gravity, okay, space gravity. So they would experiment on that, okay. Under this space station, there is one more project with that, that is, we know about it, that we have our plan, India is having our plan to study about sun's atmosphere, okay, sun's outer atmosphere. Sun's outer atmosphere, that is called what? Corona. Okay, so to study this corona, to study the study about the minerals presenting in this corona atmosphere of sun, India would launch its project that is called Aditya. Aditya L1 project. Okay, Aditya L1 project, and that is a solar mission scheduled to launch by in 2020, aims to study sun's corona and its impact on climate change. Okay, so we would study the impact on climate change. Okay, so we have our project to explore moon. We have our project to explore ocean. Now we are having to explore sun also and space station too. Okay, so till now, if till now India has not sent any man from its own space station. Okay, so now they are having this project into pipeline, that is called Gaganyaan, and through this Gaganyaan they would send man to the space, and after that they would launch they would make this space station where astronauts can go and they can have exploration of the space. Okay, so that was the idea behind this. So we discussed today 3 to 4 topics, and these topics are important for your examination, okay, whether you are giving UPSC next year or you are giving any other state examination or any other examination. So I suppose and I believe that these topics may be useful, and it must be useful for your examination, so you can prepare accordingly. And just follow your newspapers every day on regular basis, and that is actually sufficient, okay, and you can take sessions on such topics which we comes up with. So thank you so much. We would meet in another session with some other topics which is useful for your examination. Thank you.